Frank, how many debates have you, I mean, you're a really good debater. How many debates have you done?
Including with those with my wife? Because I lost all those. Are you kidding me? I guess I've done about 10.
Okay.
I'd have to count them, but the first one was with Christopher Hitchens.
That was your first?
That was, well, other than with my wife, who's actually walking toward us right now.
We talk about getting baptized into it. Wow.
Well, Hitchens was just brilliant in rhetoric.
Yeah.
And if you listen to Hitchens, you get mesmerized by his rhetoric and his baritone. In fact, I was kind of mesmerized by it during the first debate. And if you were watching a debate with him, you go, wow, I like this guy. I like Christopher Hitchens. But if you read the transcript of the debate, you go, what is this guy talking about? Hello, my love.
Here we have Stephanie and Ginger walking
Stephanie
by.
and Ginger walking over there. There's Stephanie, my wife, and Ginger, our friend.
Yeah. All right.
So, anyway, if you read a transcript of a Hitchens debate, you're going to go, I don't know what this guy's talking about, because he's not really even on topic. You know, we did the first debate, Does God Exist? He started talking about Mother Teresa.
What?
And why Mother Teresa was such a bad person. What does this have to do with Does God Exist? So anyway, so Hitchens was the first, and
Well, that's pretty amazing, though. That's your first debate.
well, I was asked to do it, so I prepared quite a bit. As I know you prepare for debates. It took me a couple months.
Yeah. What did you
actually.
do? What is your debate
Well, you read
preparation look
everything that the guy writes. His book at the time was God is Not Great at Religion Poisons Everything, which is actually, being an atheist and a materialist, he had no way of really talking about evil without a standard. You know, if there's no God, there's no good, which means there's no evil. Yet he's trying to say that religion is evil. And
Stealing from God,
He's
like your
stealing
book
from
says.
God, yes. That's why I wrote the book, Stealing from God, because he and others are stealing a standard from God, at the same time saying God doesn't exist. So, in any event, he was a brilliant orator, and I had a second opportunity to debate him 6 or so months after the first debate. Then I've debated people like Michael Shermer twice.
Okay.
Debated Eddie
He's pretty good.
Tabash. Yeah, Michael I like Michael. He's a good guy. I don't think well, I'll leave it to others to judge the debate. There's 2 of them you can see on YouTube.
Are both Hitchens debates on YouTube?
Both Hitchens, all the debates are on YouTube. Hitchens, I think the most prepared debater I've ever debated is a friend of mine named Jeffrey Lauder.
Oh.
Do you know Jeffrey?
I do. I mean, we've corresponded some on Twitter, and he seems like a good guy.
He's a stand-up guy. He started Internet Infidels like in 1995. And he's not a full-time academic or anything like some of these other guys are.
He'd been in the Air Force, right? A
He
captain
was,
or something?
yeah, he was in the Air Force, and he also works in the tech industry in the Seattle area. But he actually read my books, unlike everybody else I debated who never read a word I said. So I've noticed this, and I don't know if you've had the same experience, Mike, but if you do debate atheists, they rarely take anything we do seriously in the sense of reading it or trying to prepare.
Yeah.
They just have their standard stock complaints about the way God's running the universe. They don't really have arguments for atheism. They have complaints about the way God's running the universe, and they just bring those out in the debate. Shermer did that, Hitchens did that. I had a guy by the name of Dennis Normark who I debated in Denmark. I debated Eddie Tabash. There's a couple others I'm forgetting, I think.
I debated a guy in Denmark. I like Denmark.
Yeah, I did. I
I think I could live there.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And then the most recent was a second debate I had with Michael Shermer. So they're all on YouTube. You can see them. Most of them. The Eddie Tabash one didn't get recorded properly, but everything else was up there.
So you prepare by reading everything that they've written on the subject and watching debates
Watching
and videos.
YouTube videos and trying to see where they're coming from, trying to learn what they believe and why, and you know, what kind of objections are they going to bring up, or what kind of arguments are they going to try and bring. You do the same, I know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you've debated Bart Ehrman, who's a great orator, too.
Yeah, he is. Smart guy.
Yeah, very smart.
And we've become friends over the years. He knows I respect him, and I don't talk badly about him behind his back, and I mean, I think he's wrong. He
Yeah.
thinks I'm wrong.
Right.
But we can be friends over it. Larry Shapiro, he's an atheist philosophy professor at University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Yes.
I'm better friends with him than I am with Bart.
Uh-huh.
We couldn't disagree more on philosophical and political things,
Right.
but I like him. I mean, he could stay in my house
Uh-huh.
anytime he wanted.
Right.
I think that's the way it should be.
Yeah, all the guys I debated would be the same way. I mean, I still correspond with Jeffrey here and again every few months.
I'll tell him I said hi next time.
Yeah, he's and he is the one that took it seriously. I mean, he really had. He read the books. He tried to interact with the material, and unfortunately I can't say the same about the other guys I debated. They didn't appear that they knew a word of what I had written.
Who do you think was your toughest opponent?
Rhetorically, it's Hitchens because he's
Yeah.
so good in terms of rhetoric, but
What about in substantive arguments?
I would think Jeffrey. Yeah, I would say Jeffrey, even though, and Jeffrey might admit this himself, his arguments were so technical that I think the audience was lost on. I was lost on half of what he said.
Yeah.
So, but he's very technical in his approach. But solid, fair, he's somebody that takes the debate seriously and tries to interact with the material.
How did you feel? I'm asking about your feelings here when you just before your debate with Hitchens. It's your first time.
Well,
and you're going against a pretty tough opponent here.
Well, I got to tell you what happened backstage before we started the debate. The first time I met him was backstage before we went out. And I said to him, hey, Christopher, I know we don't agree on the God issue, obviously, but I do like some of your positions, some of his political positions.
Did you ask him what his favorite whiskey is?
He said that in the debate anyway. Anyway, he said, I said, I'm kind of a fan. And he kind of looked down and shot me this devilish look, and he said, "The night is young." So, but if you look at that first debate, it's the one where we're sitting down at the University it's at Virginia Commonwealth University.
Okay.
The second debate, we're standing up and we're at the College of New Jersey. If you look at that first debate, unfortunately, you will see that Hitchens had a bit much to drink because he was very disheveled. I knew what he was drinking. It was on the stage with him. And at one point, he took his mic off and forgot he had taken it off. And people were saying, "We can't hear you." He's trying to put it back on. I mean, tragically, it may have been one of the things that led to his death. Esophageal cancer is typical in heavy smokers and heavy drinkers. And tragically, he may have been both from what I know. So, but he was very personable. I enjoyed interacting with him. In fact, in the second debate we had a question from the audience. And it was from a Muslim. And it was directed at Hitchens. And the Muslim said, "How come you atheists are always debating Christians? You never debating Muslims?" I can't remember what Hitchens said initially, but I said something like, "Well, maybe it's because they don't want to have their heads chopped off." And the whole audience went, "Ooh." And I said, "What? That's not true? I mean, obviously there's a strain of Islam that's very violent." And the guy said something like, well, back to Hitchens, he said, "I think you ought to consider the Quran because the Quran is the word of God." And here's what Hitchens said. And it's not in the video because...
Did they edit it out?
Yeah, well, because... to show you what he said, "If you think the Quran is the word of God, you ought to read my book. Because in my book, I have a whole chapter on the Quran." And he said, "If you read that chapter, you'll see the Quran for the garbage that it is."
Wow.
So one thing you got to hand it to Hitchens was just fearless. He would just call things like he saw them.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the new atheism came out of 9/11, Mike. They saw the religious fanaticism that flew planes into buildings, and then what they did is they basically glossed every religion or put every religion in the same category and said they're all evil. if there's a segment of Islam that does this, all religion is evil. Let's take it down. And I think that's really what his book is about. God is Not Great, how religion poisons everything.
You know, I do think, I mean, we can acknowledge that religious people have not been perfect, and a lot of violence has been done in the name of religion, but of course a lot of violence is done in the name of atheism.
Yes.
Or secularism.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing a lot these days here in the U.S. of the cancel culture,
right,
and people being marginalized because they're not woke.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're not woke, are you?
Define woke. Probably not. No.
My understanding of woke is you understand that it is your race, being white, Christian, male, just the fact that you are.
I'm an oppressor.
You're an oppressor.
Yeah, according to that, according to wokeness.
You come to understand that, and you are ashamed of your...
Mike, the sound of freedom.
That's right.
Those are two F-16s, I think, above us. We're in Tucson, Arizona, not far from Davis-Monthan. And there's some F-16s in the Tucson area.
That's cool. I haven't heard that stuff for a while. When we lived in Virginia Beach, of course, you got NAS Oceana.
Yes.
And we'd have F-14s and F-18s flying over all the time, which was pretty cool.
Oh,
pretty awe-inspiring.
It is. Anyway, so you were saying about wokeness. Yeah.
You have been marginalized and treated poorly because of your Christian beliefs.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, back in 2008, I wrote a book called Correct, Not Politically Correct, How Same-Sex Marriage Hurts Everyone. It wasn't a book about why the Bible's against same-sex relationships or same-sex marriage. It was more a natural law and social consequence argument to say that if you make marriage genderless, which is what same-sex marriage does, you are destroying the foundation of civilization. And I go through reasons why in the book. So I wrote this book, and as I mentioned, I was doing Fortune 500 company corporate training, leadership training, sales training, team building, that kind of thing. That's how I made my living from 1993, when we moved to Charlotte to go to seminary, all the way through 2011. So for 18 years, that's what I was doing. And someone who was taking a leadership class I was teaching at Cisco Googled my name and discovered I had written this book. This man identified as a homosexual. So that day, he called the HR director at Cisco and said, Frank wrote this book. Of course, he didn't read the book. Frank wrote this book, so he can't work here. That lady fired me that day without ever talking to me. Didn't ask me a question, just said, you're gone. And in the name of inclusion, tolerance, and diversity, I was excluded for holding a diverse view. You notice the people who say they're fighting for tolerance are often the most intolerant people out there? Anyway, so...
Like the brown shirts.
Yes, it's getting to that point. Except the brown shirts are not employed by the government right now. They're in corporate America. In any event, what happened was, at that point, Cisco was headed by a man by the name of John Chambers, who in 2008 was on the Elect McCain Commission in California. So I fired off Chambers a letter. I said, Dear Mr. Chambers, I'm Frank Turek. I've been working for your company for many years doing leadership, team building training. And I've been informed that because I wrote this book, Correct, Not Politically Correct, How Same-Sex Marriage Hurts Everyone, that I can't work at your company. I'm a United States Navy veteran. I appreciate your support for Senator John McCain in this election. Do you understand that John McCain holds the same view on same-sex marriage that I do? Are you qualified to be working at Cisco? So I immediately got a phone call from an attorney the next day, because I FedExed it to him. What do you want? I said, I don't want anything other than for you to call the dogs off other Christians and other Muslims or Jews or just people that don't agree with your political views on same-sex marriage. And so they set me up with an interview with the head of Inclusion, Tolerance, and Diversity. Well, the interview did not go well because I kept asking her, what does inclusion, tolerance, and diversity mean? And she just kept throwing out platitudes. She couldn't understand why I was upset that I was excluded for holding a diverse view in the name of inclusion, tolerance, and diversity. Right?
Wow.
So I said,
It's amazing they don't see the double standard.
no, it's incredible. It's blindness. Anyway, inclusion, tolerance, and diversity doesn't mean what it says. It means if you don't agree with our values, you will be excluded. Now, I wrote an article on this called Sex at Work. Do not Google that. Go to our website. Go to our website and crossexamine.org and search for it there. You'll find it. And basically, my question is, why are we talking about sex at work? Are we supposed to have sex at work? Right? I mean, why is corporate America talking about this? I said, look, I work with everybody of any sexual orientation, and I work with them with respect. Apparently, there are some people in your company who have different sexual orientation than I do, and they won't work with me with respect. Who's the intolerant one? So we went public with it, and that pretty much blew up my career, because the very next day, I get a call from Bank of America, who had hired me as well, and they fired me.
Wow.
For the same reason. So the cancel culture is coming everywhere, friends. That's at that point, then I just went full-time with Cross-Examine, and that was in 2011. So
Well,
I've been doing that since.
It turned out really good for you, man.
Yeah,
Your
I mean,
ministry's just become amazing.
I had a fallback position, you know, most people don't.
But it's really, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of courage to do what you did.
Well, we have to start standing up, Mike, all of us, because pretty soon we're going to lose all of our freedoms if we don't.
I agree. It's
So-
scary. All right, tell me.
Mhm.
I mean, you're in great shape. What do you do for workout? What's your personal regimen for exercise?
Years ago, when I was in the Navy and even in college, I used to run marathons. So I've run 6 marathons.
Wow.
I don't do that anymore. That's when I was 40 pounds lighter, same height. So I weighed 157 at 6'1". So I was a running skeleton, basically.
Okay.
Since then, I've always run at least twice a week. And now I just do intervals.
It's not really great for your knees and hips.
Yeah, it's not. So I've got to give time between workouts. So I run, I'll either do 400s or 100s. Every once in a while I'll do a half-mile interval. And I also do pull-ups. That's all I do for upper body, just pull-ups.
And
So,
and how many pull-ups can you do?
well, it depends on how you define them.
Okay.
Coming all the way down, like a Marine Corps pull-up, I could probably do 20 all the way down ones, you know.
And is that doing a little kip up?
No.
I mean, we're doing perfect form here.
Perfect form, I can do 20. I could
Wow.
do about 40 without perfect form.
Wow.
But I'm just used to doing them because we had to do them when I was in Naval ROTC. We ran the Marine PFT, the Marine Physical Fitness Test, which means to max it, you had to do 20 pull-ups. So I was always practicing that. I was just started
pretty
when I
cool.
was young, you know.
All right. So obviously you watch what you eat.
Yep. I watch it go right down.
Let me ask you some personal question about your time with God.
Yep.
I think I'm going to start asking this of people I interview on these. I asked Dr. Ron Sauer. He was on a previous Fly on the Wall series, and he was the final student of F.F. Bruce, and I was asking him what his personal time with God is.
Yeah.
He said it's the most important part of his day.
Yep.
I have to admit to you,
Yep.
you know, reading scripture is no problem. I love it.
Right.
I used to love praying.
Yep.
Hour to 2 hours a day, it would just go by so quickly.
Yeah.
Then you get married,
Yep.
and you get other stuff that's, you know, other stuff you got to do, and you don't have as much time.
And there's a lot of noise like we're getting right now.
Yeah, more trash talk, right?
More trash talk with the garbage
So,
machine.
all right, so,
Oh, we're gonna have to turn, man. We're running out of.
all right. Oh, yeah. All right, so let's walk. Hopefully we won't run into any rattlesnakes like you saw last night. All right, so I have to be honest with you, prayer. Oh, let me do something. Let's just see if people can see this background. There's all this cacti.
Oh
and
yeah.
It's just a beautiful kind of background that we have here. So,
You want to head down, or where do you want to go? Because I think this is a driveway we're in.
okay, let's
Is
just
it?
do the circle and
All right.
so. All right, we switch sides. Let me.
No, I'll do it. I'll come over here.
Okay, so I have to admit, prayer is really tough for me right now. It's laborious.
Yeah.
What do you do for your quiet time with God?
Hang on, let me pray about it. I'm with you, Mike. It is hard.
And we're like the same age, right?
Yeah, I'll be 59 next month.
Okay, so I'm a few months older than you.
Okay, yeah. And we're in, what are we now? We're in October of 20.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So I was in July of 61. You're November 61, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
When did you become a Christian? How old were you?
1985, so I was 24.
Oh, okay. I was 1971 for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You were only 10.
I was only 10.
I mean, look,
man.
I always believed in God. As I said, I just don't
Yeah.
believe, I just didn't know who Jesus was.
Well,
Yeah.
and for me, it's like I just wanted to know how to get to heaven.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
like I was asking this question probably beginning at age 7 or 8.
Really?
Yeah, and then I heard the gospel. This Christian magician came in to a Sunday school class.
Who was that?
I don't
You
know.
All right.
I wish I did. I'd love to thank him.
Uh-huh.
But he did these magic tricks, illusions, whatever you want to call them, and then he related the gospel to him. So I got tricked into the kingdom. You know?
You got tricked. Okay.
But no, for the first time, I understood what the gospel was. You know, it wasn't what I would do that would earn me eternal life. It's what God did for me on the cross. And it was a Presbyterian church. God gave an invitation. I went forward. There were 2 others, me and 2 others. I thought, this is exactly what I've been looking for. So anyway, that's how I became a Christian. So what do you do for your personal time with God?
Yeah, well, I'm one of these people that rarely takes time to sit down, and I'm not saying this is the right way of doing it, to sit down and pray for a long period of time. I'm the kind of person that's praying during the day. God, help me with this, God that. Oh, I ran into this person. Of course, we always pray at meals, my wife and I do. If something big comes up, we're definitely praying. But I'm with you, Mike. For me, it is laborious, and sometimes I'm such a type A personality that, and this is not the right way to think, but I actually think, well, I could get a lot more done if I was doing X, Y, or Z, right?
I'm with you there.
If I'm
yep.
writing this new book, or I'm writing this new TV show, or man, I could, do a lot more if I would just do that. I remember this had to be 1996. We had moved to Charlotte 3 years prior to go to seminary. I'm trying to make a living by working in these companies that I'm still trying to get into. I think the first year that we went there, we made $23,000. So we're living totally hand to mouth. We're probably 10 grand in debt. We have 3 kids who are like, at that point, 7 and under. We're renting a place. We're barely making it. And I didn't know if my business was ever gonna make any money. And I went into my office one day, I said, all I'm gonna do is lay on this couch and pray for 4 hours. And that's what I did. And right after that, everything turned around.
Yeah, right.
I'm telling you.
You prayed for 4 hours?
4 hours.
You really did?
I just stayed on that couch.
I think we go down here, don't
Yeah. And
we? 4 hours?
I was crying half of it because I did not know if I could.
It takes a big man to cry. I believe that.
Oh,
But it takes an even bigger man to laugh at that man.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Go ahead, man. Go ahead. So I was crying halfway through it, going, I don't know if I can, if this is ever gonna get to a point where I can sustain the family. And my wife's going, you got to go out and get a real job, right? Just get something that's
Been there,
consistent.
man.
You know what I mean?
I know where you're coming
And
from.
I know where
feel
she
the
was
pain.
coming from too.
Yep. Our
And-
wives should get to
Yep.
know each other better.
Yeah. And so ultimately, thankfully, it worked out. And people say, oh, Turek's in it just for the money, like apologetics for the money. I made a lot more money doing other stuff. Let me tell you, when I was doing Fortune 500 training, when it did take off, it was lucrative. I mean, you could charge $10,000 a day.
Whoa.
And people wouldn't, if you weren't charging $10,000 a day, they'd go, this guy's not good.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah, well, just work a week during the year. You'd
just
be
work
okay.
a week during the year. Well, it takes a while to get to that point where
Sure.
people know you and they know what you're doing is worth it, because they wouldn't pay that unless it actually made a difference to their bottom line.
Sure.
So
And a lot of work behind.
Yes.
Doing what you're doing.
Yes.
It's like
No.
when people, a boxer wins a prize fight, makes millions.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, it was all the hours that they
Oh,
put in
yeah.
over the years before then.
Absolutely. It took 3 years for me to start making decent money, and probably a couple more to make much better money doing that.
All right, so you just pray throughout the day.
Yeah.
And okay,
But
that's
I'm
kinda
not
what you
saying
do.
that's the best plan, because
That's what you do right now.
Yeah.
And what about time in the Word?
Yeah, well, that's usually every morning.
Okay.
And
How much time do you think you spend in the morning? on that?
Probably half an hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have a particular method you go through?
Well, right now I'm going through the book of Acts, and I'm also reading Proverbs.
Okay.
So, but
what,
that's
you
just
read a
right
proverb
now.
a day?
Yeah, I usually read
Chapter
a
in
chapter
Proverbs?
a day, yeah,
Okay.
and then I'm going through the book of Acts, and but it changes, I try and take a little from the old, little from the new. I concentrate more on the new, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Obviously, it's a new covenant.
Yep.
So,
Well, sorry for the interruption there. For some reason, this GoPro just decided it was going to stop working at the moment. So anyway, so let's just, to summarize, you said you spend about 30 minutes a day reading scripture, at least at this point.
just devotionally, but of course, a lot of times I'm working in it all day anyway, doing a new TV show or preparing a new presentation of some kind. So I actually spend a lot more time, but I have the advantage of now doing this vocationally. But I only started really doing it vocationally when I turned 50. That's after Cisco and Bank of America, in the name of inclusion, tolerance, and diversity, said, you're out of here.
Well, what they meant for evil for you
Yeah.
turned out to be pretty good.
That's right.
I'm glad you're doing what you're doing.
Oh, I am
And then
too.
you pray throughout the day. And so, look, I've heard you speak. I think you're one of the very finest public speakers out there that we've got on the circuit for Christian apologetics. You're phenomenal, man.
Well,
you
thanks,
got me
brother.
laughing all the time.
Well, I try and keep people laughing, that's for sure.
So if someone wants to invite you to come speak or contact you, how do they do so?
Don't call my wife, because she doesn't want me to come speak. Sometimes she does. No, just go to crossexamine.org, crossexamine with a D on the end of it.org, and click contact us. And we go a lot to churches, we go to high schools, we go to colleges, obviously, and we try and present the evidence that Christianity is true, and we also take a lot of questions. And from that website, crossexamine.org, you'll see we have a TV show, we have a radio program, podcast, we have an app, Cross-Examined app, 2 words in the App Store. So we got a lot going on. We're trying to reach people where they are. And as you know, a lot of people today are just completely consumed with what they get off of one of these. So we try and be on social media everywhere. And we've got a great social media team here led by Jorge Gill. He does
Well, you
great
do.
work.
He is a
Yeah.
great guy.
Yeah.
Man, it's phenomenal. He's done some stuff for us.
So,
Okay. So you've got your website.
Yeah.
You've got your YouTube channel, and I think you're on Twitter too.
we're on
and
Facebook, yeah. In fact, we're so into YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, we've actually combined those three into one social media platform. We call it UTwitface. Have you guys signed up for UTwitface yet? It's kind of a Jersey thing.
That's great.
So we're in all that. We're on Instagram too, thanks to Jorge.
Well, Frank, thanks for taking some time. I mean, I think a bunch of people are going to really enjoy this.
Thanks, brother.
Love you, brother.
I love you too. RisenJesus.com. Go there. Make it happen.
Thanks for joining us. If you enjoy these videos, consider supporting us. You can give a gift of any amount, either one time or on a monthly basis, and all gifts are tax deductible as allowed by law. Just go to our secured website, risenjesus.com/donate. Thank you.